This is not financial advice, not legal advice, for entertainment, educational purposes only. Anything I say is my opinion. Please don't make any financial decision based on anything I say in these videos. Listen, double check you're still subscribed to the channel. Double check your notifications are on. And if you hit that like button, double check it's working properly, because these bad actors are working overtime to suppress the channel, because they're terrified of more people becoming aware of the fraud and corruption in the United States stock market. Guys, listen. The courts in Florida, well, the clerk of the court, it's a little bit different. A clerk default judgment and the judge's default judgment. But the clerk of the court in Florida issued a default judgment against John Clayton and Peter Ritz in the case with GNS alleging manipulation, fraud, spoofing, and a whole lot of other activities. Now, the way you get a clerk's default judgment is the defendants in the case were properly served, and they decided to not answer or ignore the lawsuit in its entirety. Okay? So more than likely, John Clayton and Peter Ritz decided that they were not going to answer the lawsuit. So now they could be on the hook for $750 million in damages. Now, GNS is going to have to prove their damages to the court. And I don't know if they ask for punitive damages, but they're going to have to prove that to the court in order to get a settlement that high. But the fact that you wouldn't even answer the lawsuit and put yourself at risk of losing $750 million, what does that tell you guys? I'm going to tell you what it tells me, and this is just my opinion, okay? It tells me that the evidence against these guys was so overwhelming that they didn't want to answer the lawsuit. And not only that, they probably thought, and this is just my opinion, that the evidence against them probably showed overwhelming evidence of fraud and corruption that could probably end up turning into criminal cases, that they would rather get the civil default judgment from the clerk than risk going to court and having to turn over all their trading history on GNS over the period covered by this lawsuit. I mean, when I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about this, I'm analyzing this, it would have been easier to answer the lawsuit and, put in a motion to dismiss. But they didn't even want to risk answering the lawsuit, which tells me that whatever they believe they might have done, had it become public knowledge or that evidence would have been revealed to the court, it probably would have opened them up to criminal liability. Now, do I know this? Of course. I have no idea why they didn't answer the lawsuit. I have no idea why they allowed the clerk to give them a default judgment and put them at risk for damages of $750 million. But when you see people afraid to go into court, that usually tells me that they know that their behavior was so fraudulent that this civil lawsuit could end up turning into a criminal lawsuit very, very fast. And they are trying to avoid criminal court, so they don't want to have to turn over any evidence of what they were doing in the time frame covered by this lawsuit. Anyway, please leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Why do you think John Clayton and Peter Ritz refused to answer this lawsuit and would rather have a judgment against them that could be as high as $750 million? Anyway, have a great day. God bless. I appreciate y'all on this journey with me.